So the three main that we're going to use to reclaim one of these screens out of here, these are all of our old ones that we're going to reclaim. This is the emulsion stripper. This one obviously strips the emulsion right off of it. This is the first one you're going to want to use when you're cleaning that out. You're going to spray it on to the front side. I'd like to wipe it down a little bit. I flip it over. I then spray this again right onto the back side. So now it's softening up the emulsion. It's getting it really loose so I can just spray it off when I use the power washer. Again, we don't want to use the water hose because it's not going to put out enough pressure. Power washer puts out enough pressure, it'll rip it right on off for you. That's the emulsion stripper. Now the next stuff we're going to use is actually going to be the S green stuff. This is some, it's pretty thick in here. This is the green stuff. It's to dehaze. Basically, after you're done stripping the emulsion, sometimes the design may stay in there. If you're using dark colored inks, it'll stay right into the screen. You're going to want to use this S green stuff to dehaze it. It takes everything off of there. This actually comes right after you emulsion it. I tend to put a little bit on there and I let it sit a little bit. Then I just rip it right back off. This takes everything out. Last but not least, you're going to want to use the Cryo Prep degreaser. This is very important to use at the end. If you do not use this, once you put your reclaimed screen in there and then you emulsion it later down the line, your screens, your designs are all going to be ripping out. It's not going to be good, and it's still, of course, going to have grease in between emulsion, which causes it to fall out. So you're going to want to use this after you use the dehaze. Again, I put this on one side. I like to rub it in. I let it sit there for a minute or so, and then I like to rinse it off. Sometimes I tend to use the water hose for that one because they say you don't want too much pressure because then it'll rip the degreaser out. You want to leave the degreaser in there, meanwhile still taking it off. You just want a thin layer in there inside the screen. And then this last but not least, this stuff up here is just aqua wash. This does not get used to reclaim one of the screens. This is only used really when I'm taking ink or I'm taking something like the Comet or something out of my screen. It's not like you're taking any type of emulsion out. This is pretty safe to use on the on any screen without it falling out. Now I'm going to show you guys. This is one of our old ones, and looks like I could use a little haze stuff up here. If this stays in here, you'll see how the haze stuff will work in there. Alrighty, so we're going to reclaim one of these screens. You tend to want to put something over because this stuff does smell a little bit. So I tend to spray it on one side. I just set this down on here. So we spray this on there. I'll give it a quick little wipe down. Quick wipe down on one side. And then we let it sit for a second. Tend to test it. Seeing it comes right on out of there. Alrighty. So now the emulsion stripper is done. We stripped the screen now. So now we're going to go to the S green stuff. Again, we have one of these designated for this. Again, this is very thick, so you're going to have to really knock this out of there. Again, sometimes some of these designs may be very, 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 very dark in there, and it's going to be hard to get out. You're going to have to dehaze it a lot of times before that design comes out. On the other hand, sometimes if there's like a little bit of ink, like so much ink left in there, it'll come right out. Let me see. Flip it over to this side. I want to let that sit for about a second or two, and then the same thing, you're going to come back and spray that out. can see, it's not 100% cleaned out, but this side is more clear than this side is. If you notice, once I wash all this stuff out, you'll notice that this side is going to be a little bit more clear too as well. And again, depending on how long this ink was sitting in here, this may be in here for a while. Again, we just have to keep dehazing it. And if it doesn't come out with the dehaze, then we go to get the screen redone. Alrighty, now that that's all done, you're going to want to spray your cryo prep. This is about, 90% cryo prep, 10% water. You don't want it to be completely cryo prep because then it's not going to work to its full potential. You kind of want water in it. It's all water-based stuff that we use. So you spray this on, comes out like this green stuff. Again, we have special ones that we use for this. You're going to want to coat this very well with the suds and the cryo prep. Here we go. Make sure you get it completely coated. Again, flip it over. Spray that a few times and get this side. Again, this is so when you emulsion your screen later down the line, it'll come out perfect. It'll have the emulsion stuck to the screen and it won't have any grease in between the emulsion, so the emulsion will not fall off. Last but not least, and I just rinse it off. Again, it does have a little bit of a haze in here, but this is lighter than before. We then take this over here to our dry cab. Again, not the dry volt. The dry volt is for the ones that are, after we're done emulsioning them, then they go into the dry volt. After you're done reclaiming them, they go right up into here, into our dry cab. Then turn it on. That one takes a little bit longer to dry out the screen. Again, this one for sure I would say about 24 hours. This one will definitely have it dry. This one could take up to 30 minutes, but this one as well I let it stay for maybe overnight just to make sure, so I'm 100% sure that it's ready to go.